They like to do things big in Texas. But the Dallas Mavericks, one of 3 Texan NBA teams in the world's biggest and best basketball league, took a while to catch on. From their inaugural season in the NBA in 1980-81, the Mavericks took until 2011 to make a real impact on the league. That they did it was thanks to a man from Würzburg, Germany. And yes, he is big. This is perfection, the most inspired moments in sport. Professional athletes have long memories, and Dirk Nowitzki is no different. In the 2006 NBA Finals, 2 teams who had never won the title, the Dallas Mavericks and Miami Heat, squared off. The Mavericks had largely been whipping boys in their quarter of century in existence, but owner Mark Cuban was trying to arrest the malaise, while the Heat were a relatively new franchise. Part of the Dallas rebuilding plan was a trade with the Milwaukee Bucks to secure the brilliant Nowitzki, whom the Bucks had taken with pick 9 in the 1998 NBA draft. Dirk had been a fine handball player as a boy, following his father Jorg Werner's footsteps, and also played tennis, until he grew tired of opponents calling him a freak because of his height. At 18, he was already 6 feet 11, or 211 centimeters. He had become the best player in Europe. And then after early struggles at Dallas, Nowitzki helped the Mavericks sweep past arch-rivals the San Antonio Spurs to reach the NBA Finals for the first time in 2006. And the fairy tale was there for the taking. The Mavericks went 2-0 up with home wins in the best-of-7 final series behind Nowitzki, who had 26 points and 16 rebounds in Game 2, then traveled to Miami. The Heat, led by the man-mountain Shaquille O'Neal and brilliant guard Dwayne Wade, was stunned. In Game 3, the Mavericks led by 13 points with 6 minutes to go in the final quarter, but they could not close it out. Wade's 42 points and 13 rebounds hauled Miami back into the lead, and with 3.4 seconds on the clock, Nowitzki missed one of 2 free throws that would have tied the game up. These were memories that would haunt the German for years. The Heat produced a heist, winning 98-96, then won Game 4 in Miami too. Then in Game 5, the Mavericks lost by a point in overtime, with Wade's free throws doing the trick. In Game 6, back in Dallas, Miami won by 3, with Wade MVP of the finals, outstanding again with 36 points. Nowitzki was named MVP of the league that year, one of only 4 foreign players to secure the award. But this was the context in which to take the NBA Finals, 5 years later. When we return on Perfection, Dirk's redemption.
And also get some rest.
In sports, there are always ups and downs. You can't always be up. There will always be some downs where the team has to learn from and even grow together more and grow as a team.
For Dirk Nowitzki, the fact the Miami Heat were again the Mavericks' opponent when they next climbed all the way to the NBA Finals in 2011 was ironic, even appropriate. But the Heat was a different unit 5 years on. Wade was still there, but Miami had spent big to lure LeBron James out of Cleveland and center Chris Bosh from the Toronto Raptors, with the big 3 on contracts beyond $100 million each. Nowitzki had emerged as one of the great players of the world, a 7-footer who could shoot the 3-pointer, face the basket, and shoot one-legged step-back jump shots, take the traditional big man spot in the low post, pretty much do everything. But the Heat were the hot ticket item in the NBA, and their superstar James predicted the formation of a dynasty with multiple championships. Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, he had famously declared when introduced to the Miami fans. In the finals, the Heat went 2-1 up. Then the unfancied Dallas rallied as teammate Jason Terry kept driving Nowitzki. Keep pushing. Remember 06. In Game 4 at Dallas, Nowitzki had a sinus infection and a 101-degree fever, but he played. Dallas won. Nowitzki was having a poor shooting night in Game 6 at Miami, where the Mavericks had a chance to finish it. Then in the second half, he caught fire. As the game went down the stretch, he kept scoring. A jump shot with 2:27 on the clock to make the lead 10. Then finally, a drive and left-hand layup in the last 30 seconds to ice it. Dallas won 105-95, and Dirk finished with 21 points and 11 rebounds.
I mean, I've been around the game for over 30 years now. I've played with a lot of Hall of Fame players: Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Bill Walton, and Dirk is as good or better than any of them.
Nowitzki had scored at 26 points per game in the finals, winning the series MVP as Dallas secured its first NBA championship. A 13-time All-Star, Dirk Nowitzki had a championship to go with his individual records. And the Mavericks went to the White House to meet America's basketball-loving president, Barack Obama.
Dirk joined the Maverick 13 years ago as a skinny kid from Germany with what he describes as a goofy haircut. Last year, he became the second European player ever to be named Finals MVP. And I think it's fair to say that we have very rarely seen a better playoff run than Dirk Nowitzki had last year. It was remarkable.
In 2014, a German filmmaker made a documentary movie about Nowitzki.
I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm really excited now. It's been a long time waiting. We've been filming for over 2 years. I've been promoting it for a long, long time, and I've only seen short parts of it, and really excited now. It's been a long time coming.
The film was called The Perfect Shot, and it could not have been more aptly titled. Australian Sally Fitzgibbons was a freakish junior athlete, winning national titles in track and field, and representing her state in cross-country, soccer and touch football. But quietly, she most dreamed of conquering the world in the sport of surfing.
I always wanted to be a professional athlete ever since I was probably, 8 years old or something. I feel surfing in a way naturally picked me.
Fitzgibbons grew up on the east coast of Australia, where the swells are big and those who chase them are plentiful. And at 14, Sally Fitzgibbons knew she wanted to be a professional surfer. For inspiration, she did not have to search too far. Australia had produced women like Stephanie Gilmore and Lane Beachley, two multiple world champions in recent years. Fitzgibbons began winning junior surf events at 14, and at 18, the girl from the little town of Jiroa became the youngest ever qualifier for the ASP Tour, among the creme de la creme of her sport, as well as winning a world junior title. She was not just a pretty face. Fitzgibbons was 5th in her first season on the ASP Tour behind Gilmore, and runner-up in 2010, her second season. Regarded as the most athletic surfer on the women's tour, she had work to do with her technique, and in 2011, Fitzgibbons stepped up, beating Gilmore in a semi-final at the iconic Bells Beach in Australia, and then Hawaii's Carissa Moore to win her first ASP title at 20 years of age. Fitzgibbons sobbed with her mother, Mary. Her father, Martin, had to fulfill a vow to shave off his bushy moustache for the first time in 30 years if she won the event. It's so overwhelming. This is amazing. It's been a long journey to win, and this is incredible. I can't feel my legs and arms. She won once more that season, and 3 times in 2012, but still could not overtake the ultra-consistent Gilmore, and was runner-up for the world title each time.
It is hard to stand there and see that title that you want so desperately bad in the hands of somebody else.
In 2014, Fitzgibbons continued to develop her technical skills, traveling to a wave pool in the Dubai desert to practice her aerial work, and to freezing Nova Scotia, Canada. In September 2014, she reached the final of an ASP event at Lower Trestles, California, to claim the #1 ranking for the very first time, overtaking Carissa Moore. Her long journey, including 3 consecutive runner-up finishes in the ASP World title, had reached its climax. Next on Perfection, a giant of the boxing world. He's won world titles in 5 divisions, and as he approached his 40th birthday, Floyd Mayweather Jr. had never been beaten in a professional fight.
It's all about blood, sweat, and tears. Of course, I come from a boxing family. It's in my blood, it's embedded in me. I'm ready to go out there and do what I do best, and that's be victorious.
They call Floyd Mayweather Jr. the money, and for good reason. Forbes.com ranked him the world's highest paid athlete for the year ending June 2014, with earnings of $105 million from just 2 bouts. Floyd's not shy about it. He even released a video on YouTube once depicting him counting all his money. Actually, Floyd's not shy about anything.
If you beat me, earn it the honest way, the hard way. Let's tell them a little bit. Hard work. Hard work. Hard work. Talking to you, kiddo.
Like so many boxers, Mayweather came from a childhood of hardship. His father, Floyd Sr., jailed for drug trafficking. His mother, a drug addict herself. Born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in the United States, he lived for a time with his mother in New Jersey, then was tended by his grandmother. More than once, he said that he raised himself, dropping out of high school at 16 to pursue boxing. "People don't know the hell I've been through," he said. In many ways, he was born into the sport. Both his father and his uncle Roger had been professional fighters. Throughout his career, his father, and more recently his uncle, acted as his trainer. Boxing became his escape, and he was a 3-time Golden Gloves winner as an amateur and a bronze medalist at the Olympic Games in 1996 in Atlanta. He turned professional later that year, and within 2 years was world champion in the super featherweight division, soon to be recognized amongst the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, along with men like Roy Jones Jr. and Manny Pacquiao, the Filipino legend.
45 men have tried, 45 men have failed. How would you fight Floyd Mayweather?
I wouldn't fight Floyd Mayweather.
His father and uncle taught him the defensive techniques that would stay with him forever, to go with the quickness and punching power that made him great. The showman in him came later, and Mayweather, sometimes known as Pretty Boy, started talking in the third person and wearing new outfits in the ring for each fight.
Before my career ends, it's about giving the fans what they want to see. A lot more of me. The fans want to see a lot more of me.
One of his greatest fights was against the 6th Division world champion Oscar De La Hoya for the WBC light middleweight title on May 5th, 2007 in Las Vegas. Mayweather had to move up in weight from 147 pounds to 154 to fight in the division. On the night, he was more than 10 pounds lighter than his opponent. Mayweather was in the big league. The bout generated enormous interest, with 2.7 million pay-per-view households taking up the fight, a record. And De La Hoya getting $58 million, a record for a fighter, and Mayweather $25 million. Mayweather stepped into the ring at MGM Grand, dressed in a sombrero and red, white, and green trunks. But his mocking of De La Hoya's Mexican heritage did not swing the crowd behind him. The majority wanted De La Hoya to win. De La Hoya came after Mayweather as the aggressor, but despite a good start, he could not land enough leather on the challenger. Mayweather came perilously close to losing his unbeaten status that night. It was a split decision. One of the 3 judges gave the fight to De La Hoya. 2 gave it to Mayweather on points. And the new champion pointed out the weight differential as well as the fact he landed 207 punches to De La Hoya's 122. Tonight, a welterweight beat a junior middleweight. It was easy work for me. He was rough and tough, but he couldn't beat the best. Mayweather momentarily retired, then returned to work through the weight divisions, talking the talk, walking the walk, pronouncing himself the greatest in the history of boxing as his unbeaten streak reached 47 fights. Victories over Manny Pacquiao and Andre Berto took him into retirement again, one short of becoming the best. Then in 2016, rumors began circulating about a crossover fight with UFC champion Conor McGregor.
They keep throwing the Conor McGregor name out there. Conor McGregor. You know, like I said before, I'm here, let's make it happen.
It did. In 2017, Mayweather went 50-0, surpassing Rocky Marciano's record for the longest winning streak in professional boxing. Cadel Evans is one of cycling's perennial champions, a man who mounted the podium in all 3 of the Grand Tours, Italy, Spain, and the Tour de France. For Cadel Evans, the 2011 Tour de France was a slow burn. The Australian, who had been a world mountain bike champion as a young rider, came close several times, but was overshadowed by the likes of Alberto Contador and Carlos Sastre. From 2005 to 2008, he finished 8th, 4th, 2nd, and 2nd, with Sastre taking him apart on the famous Alpe d'Huez in 2008. Although he had won a World Championship road race in 2010, the theory was that Evans did not quite have the zing in his legs to take the grueling tour. But Cadel Evans is a fiercely determined character, resilient and persistent, an ultra-professional who dreamed of winning the tour since watching the great Miguel Indurain as a teen. Growing up near the town of Katherine in the Australian outback, he'd been kicked in the head by a horse aged 7, spending a week in an induced coma. Many would have expected that at 34 years of age, his chance had passed by the time he lined up with BMC in the 2011 Tour de France, but he had different ideas.
Outwardly, I don't know if I seem relaxed about my disappointment and so on, but in years gone by, it's been the setbacks that have brought me back stronger and more motivated for the future years. And my best tours seem to come a year after my best one, my worst one. So I'm not going to worry about that.
Drug controversies had dogged the tour. Contador and Floyd Landis stripped of previous tour wins. And there was continuing speculation over 7-time winner Lance Armstrong. Biological passports had been introduced that allowed authorities to trace differences in a rider's blood profile, a benefit to Evans, who had never tested positive.
I think the sport of cycling's done more than enough to prove itself. It's doing the right thing, and now it's time for other sports to look at cycling and then replicate what cycling do, so the fight against drugs in sport can maybe be beaten one day across all sports.
Evans was second in the opening stage in 2011. and he won the 4th stage from Lorient to Mer de Bretagne, denying Contador by less than a wheel for his first ever stage win. But Evans kept quiet as Philippe Gilbert, Thor Hufschoft, Thomas Voeckler, and Andy Schleck all wore the leader's yellow jersey. The Australian's pained grimace became a familiar sight as they hit the Alps, and the Schleck brothers Andy and Frank attacked him. But he would not yield, and at the brutal climb of Alpe d'Huez in stage 19, he produced his bravest single ride. Twice while riding in the Maillot Jaune group, he stopped to check equipment on his bike and came close to being dropped. Each time he found a way to haul himself back into the race. Evans had suffered for lack of support from his BMC teammates, writing in his tour diary that no one was willing to work, a backhanded swipe at his teammate Thomas Voeckler. The stage 20 was a 42.5-kilometer time trial around Grenoble, where team tactics were irrelevant, and third-placed Evans had a 57-second gap to Andy Schleck and the yellow jersey. He rode like a man possessed that day, sweat dripping down his nose and chin as he hunched in the aerodynamic position. From the time he rolled down the ramp, he never saw either Schleck. A day after his body was punished in the Alpe d'Huez, he finished second on the stage while neither of the Schleck brothers could find the top 10. Evans had 1 minute 34 seconds on Andy Schleck, more than 2 minutes on Frank Schleck, and the Tour de France belonged to him so long as he could stay upright on the ride into Paris and become the first Australian winner of the Tour. A few people always believed in me. I always believed in me. And we did it, he said. When we return on Perfection, a one-man wrecking machine of rugby. Jonah Lomu is one of rugby union's best ever players, and at the World Cup in 1995, he conjured moments that are iconic to the sport. Jonah Lomu was just 18, the youngest ever All Black, when he became a member of New Zealand's vaunted rugby team. Lomu, of Tongan descent, was a giant, 6 feet 5 or 195 centimeters, and 19 stone or 120 kilograms. Yet he played as a winger, and he could run like Usain Bolt. At the 1995 World Cup in South Africa, Lomu was player of the tournament at just 19 years of age, and his teammates knew that they were working with a freak of the game.
We realised, that, like I said, he's a great talent and he's an excellent player. And, I think it's taken a lot of pressure off other players. So I think it's a good influence on us.
With their ancestral war cry, the haka, performed before every match, the All Blacks have been a dominant force in the sport for many years, and the fear they engendered was personalized by Jonah Lomu. At the World Cup, he scored 7 tries, either with astonishing bursts of speed or with pack-busting brute force. Rugby had never seen his like. 4 tries came in the semi-final against England at Newlands, the marking point for his career. The first of them has been replayed ad nauseum in the 20 years since. Lomu had already beaten the lunging tackles of 2 England players, including captain Will Carling, before he headed in the direction of England's fullback Mike Catt, who was left to mind the line like a stunned animal in a spotlight. Lomu stumbled, gathered his feet, and hit Catt at full speed, then literally stepped right over the top of the England player, rendering him roadkill. Years later, the 13-stone Catt said he remembered thinking that a kind of train crash was about to happen. The next thing I remember is lying on my back, turning to my right, and Jonah was putting the ball down, said Catt. Lomu's 4th try in the second half of New Zealand's 45-29 win was almost as breathtaking, and the legend of Jonah was born. South Africa's ironically named James Small would be the man tasked with stopping a runaway train in the final. And Springbok coach Kitch Christie backed his man.
Maybe I think you're making a mountain out of this guy. I don't think he's what everybody's making him out to be. He's just a human being. He's a human being who weighs 120 kgs, that's all.
A petroleum company offered a cash incentive of more than $1,000 for each South African player who could lay a tackle on Lomu. But the All Blacks would fall 15-12 against South Africa, a team on a mission of their own to win at home and unite the country. Jonah Lomu soon became chronically ill with a kidney complaint that dogged the rest of his career. Lomu was never quite the same again, but it scarcely mattered. The memories he gave in 1995 will never, ever fade.